Hi, I'm Alicia. Thank you for joining us today. And before you take this journey with us, I just want to say, this is a podcast, okay? This is not a therapy session. Yes, we talk about real and sometimes heavy stuff, so consider this your trigger warning. And I'm a licensed therapist, but nothing here is medical advice or a substitute for professional mental health care. Because remember, we're just like talking to comedians. Anyway, welcome to Xanyland. Did you have rotary phones, babe? My son. I just called you my son.
Oh my god. Whoa. So anyway, let's talk
what
about
the fuck?
Let's save that for later. That's nice.
That's a good boo. Let's save that for later. It's right. Today's our sexual day.
Yeah.
We don't get time during the week.
Yeah, a little role play. Why not? Yeah, one of the weirdest role plays you could do. Yeah, why not?
Welcome to the Xanyland podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Racine, a licensed therapist. And we're hanging out with comedians because who else is going to be honest about being crazy?
Okay, well then I'm going to start asking this man some questions, but we do still have some Bach cello going. I don't know if we should have that on or not.
That sets the tone. Yeah.
It does. We can keep it. This is a very serious podcast today here
affect my cuts.
with a very serious man
Yes.
named...
Drew Dunn.
Yeah.
How are ya?
Hi. I looked you up and you've won lots of competition. Well, at least that's how you started.
Yeah. I started out of the Boston scene. I first started doing stand-up in like 2014 and won a couple like local competition things. And a lot of it's just you're so hungry to get on stage that any opportunity to do that is exciting. And when it leads to more stuff, you just want to keep doing it. So the first thing I did was like a local thing in the city I was living in Nashua, New Hampshire. And that helped kind of like snowball a lot of things together where winning that competition when I was maybe like 6 months into comedy ended up turning into me going to Nebraska to do the Johnny Carson Great American Comedy Festival.
Oh my God, that's
like
dope.
a couple years later.
And you won that one too?
No, that one was I was the only one in that festival that wasn't on TV yet at that point.
No
so I was like a couple years
way.
in, and there was like maybe one other guy who hadn't been really established yet, but it was like Joe List, Mark Norman, and all these guys that were really established in the world. So it was a good way for me to kind of learn a lot, meet a lot of people, that kind of thing. And then from there, it was like, okay, if that leads to this, then what else is out there kind of stuff. And when you first start in stand-up, it's so hard to get your feet under you when you're trying to just do open mics and little showcases and bar shows and stuff like that. So to try and get little credits like that where you at least felt like you had some value to pitch yourself to these producers and bookers and comedy clubs and stuff, it helped a lot. So yeah, and the first big one I won was I did the Beantown Comedy Riots, which was a smaller one in Boston, and then I did the Boston Comedy Festival in 2017, ended up winning that. The next year I went out to Seattle just because I wanted to go back to Seattle because a chunk of my childhood was actually I lived out there. So I was born in Boston and then moved out to Seattle for like maybe kindergarten through 6th grade or something like that.
Okay.
My dad worked for Microsoft, brought the whole family out there kind of thing. So I just wanted to go back and walk around my old neighborhood and that kind of thing. And I wasn't at the point where I could sell tickets or promote a headlining show or anything. So I signed up for this Seattle International Comedy Competition, which has been going for like 40 years. There's also another one in San Francisco. Like the first year they did the San Francisco one, Robin Williams came in second place.
Oh my God.
And you know who came in first?
Who?
Nobody knows. Yeah, I never wanted to be known as like an impressionist, even though I'll do some impressions and characters and stuff like that. But it was always, I wanted to kind of surprise you with the voices rather than just be like, wouldn't it be crazy if David Attenborough and whoever were at the drive-thru? And it was just kind of these weird, awkward setups. I always focused on the joke first and then find a place to put the voice in. Yeah.
I know this is like jumping forward to our topic, but it makes me think about you being a dad. You're a new dad, right?
Yeah, new dad.
Congrats on that.
Thank you. Yeah. She's 4.5 months old now, and it's been crazy. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
I'm just excited for you to be like a dad that reads stories at night.
Yeah, no, definitely.
That's like what I'm thinking about is you just doing the characters.
Yeah, and I'm excited for that as well. It's good practice. It's fun, and even now I'll do it, and she has no idea what I'm saying, but it's still fun to do that. And that's something my dad would always do too. My dad was always just kooky, fun, would do crazy voices and do super Grover and all that kind of stuff that would make you.
Is that where you got it from?
I think so. I mean, both my parents are kind of silly in that way. I mean, I'm one of 7 kids in my family, so it was always chaotic growing up. So on top of kind of that being injected in me young, comedy was kind of currency in my house, where we would be roasting each other and trying to one up or say the funny thing at the right moment, break the tension. If one of the brothers is in trouble, if I can distract them with something funny, it's like that was kind of the dynamic growing up for us. Yeah,
actually one of our last pod that just came out, the comedian that was on was Rydune, and he was talking about how like they'd have tension in the house.
Yeah.
And he saw like his sister's boyfriend come over, and the boyfriend would be funny.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, all the tension would neutralize. And so he learned to be funny because of that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what stand-up does on a bigger scale. You know, like people worry about their lives or the world, and if they can come and, even if it's just for an hour or 90 minutes, kind of shut their brain off and let somebody else think and talk for them, it's kind of cathartic in that way.
And it's mental health in that way.
Yeah, definitely.
If it's right in line with our topic is how helpful. And it's such a great discharge. Like a lot of the time we talk about, you know, how do people like get better? And a lot of it is discharging some of the like excess energy that we have from either what's happening in your day or, you know, grieving or whatever. And you need to get that energy out. And laughing and going to comedy is such a great way for people to discharge.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize it until they do it too. Because some people will watch a lot of stand-up, you know, on their TV and not really get that same experience. But when you're in a crowd of people and everybody's laughing and you don't know who this person is or what that person's going through, but you can all kind of connect on this one thing, it really does let you kind of have that real release and feel like, okay, kind of like you just got out of a sauna at the end of it. You just go,
God,
okay,
I'm actually just realizing that it's one of the only things that is really still very in person.
Yeah, totally.
Because like theater is not that, you know, obviously there's theater that exists, but it's not everywhere as much as like movies are.
Right.
But then also we're not even really have movie theaters.
Yeah, you're not even really watching movies in that communal sense anymore either. Yeah.
No, and like, you know, we can go to concerts, but it feels like, you know, I'm going to a concert in May and then I'm going in September. You know, it doesn't feel like you just, unless we go to small venues and see music, which we do because I was a musician and Jake, you know, Jake and that's sort of our world. But if you aren't in that world, you don't do it as often.
Totally.
So comedy is like the only place.
Yeah, that and comedy's unique in the sense of like when it's live music, you're milling around, you're dancing, you're singing along. Where comedy really is this like you're silent, you're watching this person, and there's rules on how you should act in the audience and that kind of stuff. And if you really get into kind of that trance of listening to the comedian and letting just being enveloped in the set, it really is kind of a release for people for sure.
Yeah, and you're feeling the vibe of everyone else, like you said.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
Yeah, I work the Comedy Cellar in New York a lot, which is a great club. They do 90 shows a week. They're all sold out. It's a legendary club. But they and some of the other clubs do this now too. They take people's phones, so you don't have your phone. They lock up your phone for the show.
I love
You truly have to be present in a way that a lot of people haven't been present in a decade.
Yeah,
you don't have a thing to check. You have to just look around the room and see the people, and you're not trying to get a video or a sneaky photo. You're actually just forced to watch the show and engage.
Yeah,
and the
we should all get our
uncomfortability.
phones taken away more often, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. We should.
That's just a good point.
There should be a service that just comes and knocks on your door and be like, "Come on, give it a hit.
Yes.
I'll be back in a couple hours."
Would you pay for that service? I would pay for that service.
I think I'd want them to pay me. I'll give it up, but I need $50.
What are they going to get off your phone?
No, it's not that. It's just like it's true. I mean, we're all really addicted to it, and it's good for some things. You have access to information and you can kind of see the world, but because of that, I think so many people get distracted on what's going on in the world that like you're worried about a war that's 100,000 miles away from you, and you don't know what's going on with your neighbor next door. So I think we kind of lose a sense of community while we gain this global sense of community that can be really toxic for your brain if you don't know how to compartmentalize.
Well, it's partly toxic for your brain, and like this is sort of like a psych tip because you can't really do much about it.
Right.
And that can cause trauma in itself, right? That helplessness to not be able to feel like you can interact or like do anything.
And especially if you're a really empathetic person and you want to help those people and you feel like you can't, then you just feel like this need to go and protest and yell or comment mean things or say that your opinion's right and these people are evil, and it just turns into this thing that we're all arguing over something like it's your best friend who's in this conflict, and it's not. It's
100%.
like
but the neighbor you can help.
Yes, exactly.
The neighbor you can do something.
A lot of people don't even know their neighbor's name, but they know the leader of countries they'll never go to. It's
this is like, okay, so we talked about being in person in comedy, and I'm gonna always bring it back to mental health because it's a mental health podcast, but like, and now we're talking about helping your neighbor. in order for anxiety to be healthy, you have to like complete the cycle.
Yeah.
And the same thing, like comedy helps you complete the cycle. Helping the neighbor helps you complete the cycle.
Yeah.
What makes us sick is just keeping it in here
Yes.
and not being able to complete it.
Yeah, exactly. And then ruminating and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden on top of that, now there's another thing. And then if you're watching the news, there's another thing. And then you go on social media and
Fuck
there's
the
another
news
thing.
lately.
And you just feel like this constant twisting and you just drive yourself crazy for no reason. And then you're neglecting your kids or your husband or your wife just trying to like do this stuff or do the right thing, and it's, I don't know, it's just bad for you to kind of, it feels like a dog chasing its tail. It's like there's always going to be another problem for you to feel upset about or to buy a flag for or whatever. You feel like you have to show that you're on the right side of history instead of just, you know, being present, focusing on your life, and having perspective on those things is important, but having them dominate your life and conversation. And every time you sit down, we have to talk about this or that. It's like, how are you? I don't care about how Ukraine is or the world. Like, how are you? It's like we don't do that as much anymore.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. It's a really, really good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point. It's hard not to care about those things, but as long as you can still interact with your life, I think you're saying.
Totally. Yeah. And I think like
be present to right here.
And I think that's a good thing about comedy is like a lot of times now, and especially with the way that the internet and social media works, you're a lot of people are just in echo chambers. So you're either in this world of completely agreeing or completely disagreeing with whatever's being said, where most people are not that, especially in real life. If you sit down and talk, there's nuance and perspective and people learn to go, oh, I never thought of it that way. You don't have that online. So when you go to like a comedy show and you see a comedian that has either a very silly take or a take that you never would have even thought of or heard of, it can help to kind of be like, oh yeah, maybe it's not that bad, or maybe maybe it's, you know, one of these other kind of sections of the world.
No,
Yeah,
it's great
exactly.
because you're right. Nothing is black and white.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, totally.
Now, how do you know all this stuff, or where do you get all this perspective from?
A lot of it's just by doing it. I mean, for me, I found myself in those ruts of like, why am I feeling bad about this? Why am I constantly thinking about these things that I can't do anything about? And then once you really take that step back on yourself and you see other people kind of stuck in that trap of this mentality of combativeness, I think that it allows me to write jokes that can explain my perspective and why I see it differently. And the more I write jokes and the more I tweak and turn the screws on those perspectives and learn more, meet more people. I travel a lot, so I get to see what it's like for an actual blue-collar worker in Missouri. You know,
travel
I
is a
talk
really
to them
good
specifically. It's not this, I don't just see what they post on Facebook. I have a beer with them after a show and talk about things other than what they would want to tweet about, you know?
Yeah. I think travel is really important in that way.
Yeah, 100%.
And interacting with people from different demographics is so important
Yeah,
too.
definitely.
But a lot of people will go through what you're describing you went through and not be able to get themselves out of it, or not be able to, like, you know, go 30,000 feet, and sounds like you can look down and then it sounds like you use comedy as a tool to even manipulate your own brain.
Totally. It helps me for sure, because I'm always looking for the funny angle on things, but sometimes the truth is the funniest angle. And it's not my truth or your truth. It's what is actually happening. And it's not always comfortable to talk about, but if you can find a through line that lets people on either side share a perspective, it's kind of helps that. It's just, even if, like I said, even if it's for an hour, that we can all agree on this one thing is funny, regardless of who you voted for or what you like or who you support. It's just good for you. I think.
Yeah, it sounds like you're trying to unify people on what is human, as opposed to like,
and that's a lot of the stuff I'm talking about on stage now is like, it's not that bad. It's okay. There's a lot of bad things, but here's some good stuff, you know, and here's a funny thing that I saw today, and here's all the stuff that
is that
we can
where you try to
experience.
lean?
Yeah, that's just a lot of the stuff that I've been writing lately, just because that's what's coming to me naturally, and with all of the combativeness online and through the news and stuff, it's more fun than picking a side and having to agree with anybody on either side and play comedy by rules. Essentially, I try to just
wait, is that a thing?
Well, I think so. Like,
Okay.
if you're gonna try to be an Austin comic, you're gonna have to write jokes that lean right. And same thing if you want to be on, you know, NBC, or you're gonna want to be, you know, an industry darling. You can't touch certain topics, or you have to kind of limit your perspective, because it depends on what type of audience that you're trying to build. So if you're building if all the jokes you write are very left-leaning or right-leaning, then that's the audience that's going to come and see you. And then if you divert from that, mindset for one thing. Like if you're a right-leaning comic and you're like, oh, I think taxes should be this and this guy's great and Trump that, and then you go, but I think women should be able to like have a right to their body. You're gonna lose half your audience because you're losing these kind of diehard people. So for me, I always try and be careful to not, I just don't like writing by rules. You know, like I'll write some jokes that happen to be clean. I'll write some jokes that happen to be dirty. But the more free I can be with what I want to talk about and how I want to say it is what's most important to me.
That's cool. And so you do that by sticking to topics that...
I mean, I'll write about anything if I have a funny and unique take on it. I've done jokes with everything from, you know, my family and my dogs to the Trump assassination attempt. You know, like as long as I can have a take that I think is funny and unique and will bring both sides together in a way that I'm like, I don't need to be go on this guy or go on that person to have a perspective on a joke, because I think it's so easy to lock into that type of stuff. Like if you want to be a writer on Saturday Night Live, you have to share the perspective of your coworkers. You're basically back in a corporate environment of we all agree that this is bad, we all agree that that's good, but the comedy is in between the agreements. That's where the really funny stuff is, I think.
I love that. It's mentally healthier for you.
Yeah, totally.
To like live within that space, not play by the rules, I love how you said that. I never thought of it that way. It's like being in a corporate environment, right? You have to like have a certain viewpoint.
Yeah, what are the brand values of this company? And for me, like, I just want to be funny. That's it. That's my brand. One brand value is be funny. Yeah.
Do you have a brand values for yourself?
I mean, not specifically. No, I'm more of a go with the flow kind of guy.
Okay.
I'm reactionary to a lot of stuff, and I'm open to perspectives too. Like if I have an initial reaction to something that's like, oh, well that's kind of crazy, and then something else comes to light. Like I love learning about that, and kind of I'm not really harsh on a lot of things in that way in my life. I'm much more kind of go with the flow when it comes to any kind of topic like that.
Hey babe, you're a licensed therapist. You have a private practice. You need to get on Mentaya. You know when clients always ask if you take insurance and you have to do that awkward sigh before explaining out-of-network benefits? Well, yeah, Mentaya fixes that. And here's how it works. You sign up at Mentaya.com. Use my code Xanyland for a free month. That's XANYLAND. You know that because you're here. Clients check their benefits through Mentaya's tool before booking so that they know what they'll get back. On average, that's 62%. After sessions, you or your client uploads a super bill to Mentaya. That's it. Mentaya files a claim, follows up, and gets them reimbursed. You get your full rate. No discounting, no chasing claims, no selling your soul to a tech bro. Go sign up now with Xanyland for a free trial. You're welcome. You have, though, been writing lately about your new daughter?
Yeah, I definitely have some jokes about that. That and just kind of the new perspective it brings to be a dad in this world, and what that means. I mean, there's definitely stuff now that I do care about more, that I want, and that I didn't even really think about before. You know, things like the education system and stuff like that. I'm like, what does that look like in 10 years, you know? Because it's one thing to like conceptualize about that, but to me, like, the future now has a face. There's a person here that I love that will be here after I'm gone. So that is a total change of perspective for me.
The future has a face.
Yeah.
We have a face too. Our future has a face too. She's 19 years old.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That's wild.
It's so wild.
Yeah.
Yours is 4 months.
4 months. Yeah.
So what's the funniest shit that has happened to you in the past 4 months?
Besides the shits.
Yeah.
Those are
They're
funny
pretty gross, right?
In and of itself. Yeah. It's that's a whole. That was one thing I thought I was gonna have like a problem with. I was like, oh, that's gonna be really gross. But then the first one happened, I was like, there's shit on my daughter. We gotta get this off here.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. It's a total like. I was like, oh, this is.
It's so beautiful. It changes everything.
Yeah, and I grew up in a big family, so I'm the second oldest of 7, like I said. So I grew up babysitting. I've changed my brother's diapers. That stuff was always but it's different when it's my brother compared to my daughter. It's just a completely different mindset. So yeah, that's been.
That's nice to know. It's nice to know that you can handle it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I love it.
At least that
I
part.
really am loving it. It's like it's a total perspective change, and just watching her learn the little things of, oh, she's figuring out her hands exist, and she's learning to laugh and giggle and recognize us and smile. It's like those types of things are just like, it means everything.
4 months is kind of good too. It's like the first couple months.
Oh, it's just
really
scary.
like.
All I'm trying to do is not kill her.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You think they're gonna die every second.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I can't do this. Oh, she's gonna get smothered by that. I gotta do the swaddle right, all that kind of stuff.
And they don't
I gotta
help
pick
in
her
the
up
hospital.
perfectly. Yeah, exactly.
They don't help in the hospital. They're like, I gotta sleep at this angle. Like,
when you leave the hospital,
temperature.
all they do is give you a list of, hey, here's how you're probably going to kill your kid. Don't do this. And it's just like, oh, okay. They're like, don't fall asleep, but do fall asleep. If you don't sleep enough, you'll sleep on them, and then they'll smother them.
It's so fucking true. They have to sleep in
don't-
their thing, but you can't sleep there, but you have to
make sure they're
breastfeed,
facing
but
north, and it's just like, what are you talking about?
It's
So,
God, it's nuts.
Yeah, it's wild.
By the way, in about a year and a half, they're gonna try to kill themselves.
Yeah,
all the time. That's really
that's when you got to start
insane.
plugging up the sockets.
It's like a suicide mission for
and
them.
getting gates up and all that stuff.
it's
Yeah,
nuts.
I've lived in a house with gates blocking things off more than I haven't. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. I went from little brothers and sisters to small dogs.
That's
Same
okay.
kind of
So
thing.
you know that part.
Yeah.
Okay, so
definitely.
you made it for the 2 months, and you didn't kill her.
Didn't kill her.
And then what?
Good so far.
Good so
But
far.
we went up to, so I live in New York full time, but I have, my father-in-law lives up in New Hampshire, which is where we went to go have the kid. We lived with them for a
smart.
while.
Okay.
My mother-in-law sadly passed away from cancer a couple years ago, so we go and try and spend time with him when we can. And her brother, my wife's brother, lives around the corner. He had a kid about a year and a half ago. So we were like, let's go get out of the city, go up there. So like she was due end of October. We went up there maybe last week of September, first week of October, set up camp, had the kid up there, rolled into the holidays and got to, see my parents who also live up in New Hampshire and, all the friends and brothers
That's
and
so
stuff like
cool.
that. And then we went back to New York like mid-January or so.
Okay.
And then was there for a solid month. And then just in the last month or so, really the last couple of weeks, I've started to do some road dates out for a couple of days here
You
and
just
there.
started?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
like March 6th was my first other than like a day or two here and there being gone, was my first okay, I'm going out for the weekend, go
Yeah.
do shows, come back kind of thing.
I'm sorry to hear about your mother-in-law.
Yeah, it was tough for sure. She was one of the healthiest people I know, hadn't smoked a cigarette in 30 years and suddenly got diagnosed with cancer in April and was gone by July. So it was just super sudden, and yeah, it was wild. So that was that was a big thing for us too, as a family, to really come together and deal with that loss. And it was the first time I really dealt with death in my life in that way. I've lost, pets, and I wasn't close with any of my grandparents. My parents didn't have good relationships with them. So when they passed, it was that's whatever. I didn't really feel anything for it. I felt more when my wife's grandparents passed away. That was harder on me than that. But losing her in that way was, I lived with them for a better part of a decade. So when I met my wife senior year of high school.
Okay.
So I was be there all the time. We went to college together. So when we'd come back, we'd stay at her parents' place. And then the years after college, they were wildly supportive of me trying to do this crazy career path. So I'd be at home all day in their house.
Who the fuck are these people?
I know.
Who are these people?
Yeah,
You're not
yeah.
even supposed to like the mother-in-law.
I know.
This is beautiful.
She was a saint, and they were.
This is so beautiful.
They would encourage me to do this, and I was still, I was making enough money to get by and that kind of stuff. So it was great. I wouldn't have been able to be where I'm at without that kind of support at that very critical time. So. So that was she was really a second mother to me. I really lived with them for the better part of 10 years,
Sounds like that.
every day. So
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
yeah, no, it's okay. It's
I have so many questions related to that.
Yeah.
How did you guys deal with it, or are you still dealing with it?
Definitely, especially having the kid was tough because all she ever wanted to be was a grandmother. So losing that opportunity for her weighed heavy on me, especially anytime I'd first see my brother-in-law's kid and then my daughter, it was just thinking about all the stuff that she doesn't get to experience that she would have really loved was super hard. And even now, it's being up in New Hampshire, I can really only do it for so long because it's the same house, same place, and that environment really creeps up on you. And there'll just be days I just wake up sad and I cry and I try and get over it, and you just work through those things. And I think the good thing about it is it's a shitty thing that we all had to go through.
Together.
So so we have that kind of dealing with loss mark on all of us. So if I'm feeling bad, I'll talk to my wife about it. If she's feeling bad, I'll talk to me about it. And we, like I said, with her dad, they same thing. They've been together since they were like 14 years old. So him in this new world of just himself is like making sure that he has everything that he needs to, you know, stay sane and go through everything. So
Yeah, it was beautiful that you guys brought the baby.
yeah, we had to.
That was really
yeah.
special.
Yeah, and now like when
I will say though, I imagine your poor wife surrounded by a bunch of men.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
I was like, this is like 3 men and a wife and a new baby.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
Luckily,
all-
my mom is very much.
Oh, your
there a
mom and
lot.
dad are there
yeah,
too,
they
yeah.
live just a couple towns over in New Hampshire, so
Okay,
they'll come
good.
in.
Thank
and
God
then
she
my
had it.
sister as well.
Yeah.
And then like my brother-in-law, his wife and stuff, they all kind of hang out and stuff
Oh,
when we're up
good,
there.
okay.
So yeah, it's a good environment.
I did
for
imagine
sure.
though. That is quite funny.
Yeah,
Where
that is
it's
like
so rare.
the most invaluable thing in all of this, especially trying
Yeah.
to do something like comedy. There's so many ups and downs and so much doubt that comes in on, is this right? Am I ever gonna do the next level of what I want to achieve in this? So to have that community of just some sort of stability in your life, whether it's my relationship with my wife or, you know, my parents and all my friends and brothers and stuff like that, to be able to have that is like essential. People that do that without it, I'm like, you
Yeah,
are
how many people were there in
hero.
your family?
I'm one of 7.
Wow, yeah.
And then my parents, 6 boys, 1 girl.
And everyone's getting along.
Yeah, for the most part.
I am like, I don't even have jokes for this.
Yeah.
And also you cry.
Yeah, of course.
This is like a perfect human being that we're looking at right now. Like, this is crazy. We're actually doing an episode. We're filming an episode tomorrow with Liz Miele, if you know who that is.
Oh, yeah.
And she's talking about male depression because she was talking about how her dad had it, and she believes she has male depression.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so
That's a fun perspective.
And I'm
Liz is
excited
funny.
for it. And when I was reading about it, it's like, you know, just talking about like how men deal with their emotions differently. Obviously, we all know this, but how it's like turned into this sort of epidemic because men just like really just don't deal with their emotions.
Yeah, totally.
And
it's something I had to learn to do, really.
Okay, yeah,
Like,
tell me about
because
that.
I mean, especially growing up with so many boys. For the most part, for me, it was 5 boys growing up. So like
Okay.
the difference between the 5th boy and then my parents finally got their daughter is like a 13-year gap. So it
Okay,
really is like
okay.
2 generations of kids under the thing. So 5 boys, it was always, you're a pussy, don't cry, stay
Yeah.
tough. My dad was a military guy on top of that, so
Oh my
that
God.
added to like the, you know, don't show it. You know, you get. I played baseball my whole life. You get hit in the face, you pick your teeth up and you walk to the dugout. You know, like that kind of. It was always very much like.
my
Don't
husband
show
actually
that.
always talks about that. Like if he hurt himself in sports, he had to like just
Yeah.
run on that
Yeah,
broken
you just
ankle.
wear it, rub dirt on it, keep moving.
Yeah.
So, and because my house wasn't unique in that way. That was
Yeah.
a lot of people's houses were like that. So that
Yeah.
becomes the culture when you go to school and oh, that kid's a crybaby, that kid's a pussy, that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah.
And you never wanted to be seen that way. You want to be the cool, tough guy. I'm good at sport, whatever. So allowing myself to do
By the
that.
way, I can see why you like to do podcasts because you can talk on any topic. Anyway, keep going.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
He's like, I'm on it.
yeah.
What's our next thing? Okay,
Yeah, no,
keep going.
no, definitely. Yeah, you want to talk about crying? Let's talk about. Yeah, I got stories.
Let's talk about your knees next.
Yeah. Oh, the left one's a mess.
Okay, yeah, keep going. Crying.
Yeah. No. So I think a lot of it was having that relationship with my wife. That was the
Yeah.
first person that I was really able to be that vulnerable with.
Yeah.
And open up at a level that I never realized I hadn't opened up with anybody that close, even my parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You kind of keep this version of yourself that you present, and then the real version of yourself when you go
Can
to
I
your
get
room.
that
at the
one
end of
for
the,
you?
Yeah,
That
is
one's
that
been like
just-
doing a thing the whole
don't know what
time,
it's-
and I didn't
yeah.
want to just do it, and my husband would be like, "Why is she touching this hand right now?" Anyway, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it was that relationship with my wife was like, you know, you have those moments in life where especially now we've essentially grown up together. I've been with her almost as long as I haven't been with her. So learning to express myself in that way and be truly vulnerable with somebody, it was a big perspective change for me. And again, because that also leaks into the rest of my life. So I have friends now that I love and I have a way to express that. And we've all kind of grown up to a point where I can tell my buddy I love him and I care about him, and if I'm worried about his mental health or whatever it is, because I've had friends that have struggled with depression. I had a friend that I thought was going to kill himself, and I had that moment where we talked that night before and he was really down on himself, and then I go to his house the next day. I called out of work just to go check on him, and his car was still there, so I'm like, he should be at work right now. And I had this kind of like panic moment of, did he actually do it? I'm banging on his door and his window, and finally comes out and he was good. And but having the ability to express that to somebody, I think, is like that all rooted from that relationship with my wife, because I learned how to express that myself and feel comfortable doing it, you know.
Mm-hmm. So she's really good at being vulnerable, sharing her emotions.
Yes.
She really brought that to you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think part of it, like, because she was the same way. She was a person that, she was a world-class cheerleader that would do these kind of crazy competitions, and was very athletic, and always kind of presented a front, always hung out with like her brother and their group of friends, always needed to kind of be that different kind of person that she was. So us learning how to do that together was definitely like a big moment for sure.
So how and why did you guys learn that together? Because again, like when people are watching this, and I want them to like hear about you, but I want them to sit at home and be like, I can do this too. You know, like what made you guys turn the corner? How did you turn the corner? People really struggle to talk about what they're feeling and share with their partners, or even identify that they're feeling something instead of acting out.
Yeah,
right?
I think what it is the first time you do that and you be vulnerable with somebody, you learn very quickly if that's the right or wrong person for you on how they react with that. And sometimes people need to grow into that.
Wait, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Say that one again. That's a really good point, because that's a good one for people in relationships. I think this is really
smart. On how somebody reacts to you kind of dropping those shields down, and it shows their true colors, I think, and kind of that next level of relationship. So and for me, I mean, I met my wife when we were both 17, senior year of high school. So we were both, very immature at that point in our lives. So to learn from each other and see how we deal with different experiences and ups and downs in our lives, and you thought you were going to get something and you didn't, or you thought this was going to happen, and then of course the loss of family members and stuff like that, you really learn from that person, like, this is okay, like I'm not leaving you, or I don't see you, oh, you're not a real man, like that kind of energy, that was just never a thing for us. And once you have that moment with somebody where you share something and they share something back, and there is no judgment, like that becomes the standard in that relationship. So it's not.
I think the research says right now, though, that that's what it should be at home, but for most people, it isn't.
I think it's really hard for people to speak their truth out loud. Like, I think a lot of people still hold that shell inside, even though they'll pretend, I'm a totally open book, but there's a big rock in the middle of them that nobody gets to see with themselves, which I think that's important for some things in your life. But when it comes to relationships, there has to be a few people in your life that get to crack that shell open and see what's inside.
There has to be. And I think that's why, I'm a therapist, and why like I've been such a big proponent for therapy. One of the reasons is because it's at least one safe, low stakes space for you to practice saying that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
With someone that's trained and isn't going to hurt you back.
Totally.
Because a lot of people came from families and relationships where they did get hurt when they were trying to be vulnerable, right?
Right.
And then they can hopefully take that into their lives and go, this is what I expect from the people that I love. Yeah. I'm going to hear you. You're going to hear me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And it's really cool that, you guys are doing that and you have that space at home.
Yeah, definitely.
In the world, obviously, we can't just go around in the world like being our vulnerable selves, but you got to have a space.
You have to have a place to do that, for sure.
Yeah.
It's essential. Because, if not, you'll go crazy. You'll just bottle it all up, and then one day you'll explode, And
That's what's happening.
Totally.
Yeah.
And you see that all the time. And I had that with when my mother-in-law passed. Like I held that in because I was like, I need to be strong for them. This is their really traumatic for the dad and my brother-in-law and my wife. So I need to be the one that's really stable and not show that emotion. And then, the lights would go off at night and I'd go lose my mind in the basement somewhere because I just couldn't take the emotion anymore, So, and then allowing myself to show that. And this is even, within the last year or so that I'm like, I can't be tough anymore for this. I need to really like kind of let it loose. And
I can feel, when you talk about her, I can feel it.
Yeah, no,
like deeply. Every single time I'm like, I want to cry. Like it's very
real,
it's
in me too.
Very alive in you.
It's totally like, it was devastating. I mean, especially because it came so quickly and dramatically. And like I said, she was one of the healthiest people I knew. And then to just get diagnosed stage 4 lung cancer like that out of the blue off of just a little cough that was lingering, and then it got in her bones and she broke her back, and she went from this strong person that worked out every day to a shell of herself that was just knew that the end was coming and there was no recovery and it wasn't gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
I think part of it is some of my own stuff too. I'm realizing because I have 2 people that I lost that way.
Yeah.
That it went very quickly like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was months and the same thing. Like
Yeah.
it was so quick, and they just deteriorate so quickly in front of you.
Totally.
And then when the bones start breaking out of nowhere, it's just
Yeah.
like, what is happening?
Yeah,
And
yeah. She broke her back and then she just couldn't walk, and it was just like this helpless feeling of like, I want to carry you and do everything I can for you, because it felt like that's what she did for me to get to this point. And yeah, it's really, it took a lot for us to even just get over that initial moment. Like I had my place in New York, but we were in New Hampshire for most of that, just trying to deal with it and be around family and do all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was definitely like, that was the first big perspective change for me. My daughter's a whole different version of that, but that was just like, because I've talked with people about it, you know, about like other people that I know that have lost their parents or lost people to cancer, and that helps to give perspective, and I think it helped me become a better performer in that way, because you realize the stakes of what you're doing on stage. The majority of people are touched by this terrible thing or some version of a terrible thing in their life, and that's a lot of those people why they're at a comedy show. They're seeking a release from, whether it's the news or whatever, that's all irrelevant. What happens in your life is something that you need to escape from as well, even if you are closed off from all the outside bullshit.
Are you talking about this in your comedy?
That stuff, not as much. I think I do it more in a kind of wraparound way when I'll talk about things on death and touch on those types of things, but I don't want to bring up people's trauma in that way and have them reflect in a very deep way on stage. I'd rather bring some levity to it and show that it's just another way that we're all connected. We're all going to be affected by this. It's the one thing that we'll all do in this life is die. So you have to be able to have that. It's a shared experience. So we're all going to lose somebody we love. We're all going to lose ourselves one day. So
it is so important that we talk about this, like a lot, a lot. And I'm glad that you're putting that in your work.
Yeah, no, you have to, because it's another through line that we all have. I think that, and it's a scary thing, and it's very sensitive, and but if you can find a way to make people realize that when they are in that dark place, that look around, we're all in the dark. Like there's no lights in here, so we're fine. We're good together. It's all good, that kind of thing. So, and that's how I felt with, you know, friends that had gone through that, and like some comics that I know that had done that. It was just a perspective of like, you're gonna be better because of this. You're now at this part of your life that you weren't before. It's kind of like being a dad. Dealing with death is a very similar transition in that way. You're in a new group of people that have had to go through this type of thing, and then you look around and realize, like, that guy at the bus stop has had to deal with this exact feeling that I have, and I'm not alone in this. So that helps me, but it also helps the kind of just perspective of everything in that way. Yeah.
That's why I wanted to interview comedians in the first place, right? It was because you guys are doing that, and it's such important work. And then the whole point was to have you guys come in here and be like, another space for some more truth and openness, so that people can go like, okay, first you're a real person, and then also like, how did you deal with this? Like, how do I deal with this?
Right.
Like,
and the baseline of all that stuff is community.
Yeah,
and that's what comedy
really
is at the end of the day. It's bringing people together. You can share a perspective that you never would have even thought of yourself. And that shared experience, I think, is that's what it's all about. It's what makes it so fun, and it makes it so relatable. I mean, comedy is one of the few art forms outside of music that has lasted for so long, because it's clearly needed by people. And like when we had the pandemic and people weren't able to access it at that time, if you felt that change in people, there was much more division amongst people. There was just less collective voice or new perspective, I think, on a lot of topics.
Yeah. You know, as you're talking about it, and obviously I'm like a therapy obsessed person, but I'm also a comedy obsessed person, so it's cool.
Yeah.
Therapy is sort of the same way. It's a place where like you can talk about all these things so honestly and freely, and like you can talk about, you know, the fact that we're all gonna die. And it is a space of community, and it is like, and also the person that's coming to therapy, it's almost like it's their one man show. It's their one woman show in a way, you know? And how special it is to be able to, like, you're basically doing that with audiences, but to come in and go like, you know, here's how I'm working things out in my head. Have you ever done therapy?
No, I've never done therapy.
Yeah, you don't need it.
I think, well, I think because I am very self-critical and self-aware in that way. I'm constantly analyzing myself and trying to figure out why I feel certain things, and like, like I said, with a big family and my 5 brothers, we all had a very similar childhood, but we all have different memories and perspective on that. Some of them are like, oh, our parents were awful. Some of them are like, oh, it was fine. And for me, I try and reconcile that of like, yeah, was it crazy? Yeah, of course there was chaos in a house of 5 boys with not enough money and not enough space. But my parents were barely children when they had us. They were 21 years old when they had the first kid, and then they just kept rolling. They didn't have good relationships with their parents. They didn't have a good role model on how to do this. It would be crazy if they nailed it. You know what I mean? Like if they were great parents on their first try with no practice and no role model, that would be a miracle. So why wouldn't there be chaos?
By the way, they're not supposed to nail it either.
No, exactly.
Like I want to actually say that. I think it's a really important point is that your parents weren't supposed to nail it. Like,
no.
They made you this is who you are because this is who you are.
Yes.
And you were supposed to learn these lessons and you're supposed to have barriers you're supposed to work through and you're supposed to like have pain that you make things because of. Like you wouldn't be a comedian you had to have had shit happen to you.
Yes, of course.
In order to be doing this. You had to make beauty and art out of pain.
Yeah, 100%.
And they're not supposed to nail it. So go to therapy and talk bad about them, but like know that they're not supposed to fucking nail it.
Yeah, exactly. Air it out.
Remember how we talked about, or I said earlier, like anxiety is good, but you have to complete the cycle. With your siblings, often you can complete that cycle.
Yeah.
With your siblings, you might have a difficult situation with a parent or something that happens or they yell at you and you have all this tension inside of you. You with your like, brothers can like beat the shit out of each other and like joke with each other and make fun of the parent and act out together and like they call it the emotional one ring. And so like you're able to complete that cycle. But you as an only child, it's all just sort of living up here, all this experience.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
Right?
Yeah, and we're able to, even now, we'll get in a group chat and be like, did you see what mom said on Facebook? Like that kind of stuff.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah, so
and
good.
that's like I said, I just think that's one of the reasons I never felt like I needed or pursued therapy was I had those outlets to be honest.
You might need it one day. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm such a big proponent of it, and I think that you can work in so many different ways, or some people use it for just one specific thing, and some people use it lifelong.
Yeah.
But you're also very verbal, and I think, I was making fun of you about it earlier, but it's a really great thing because like a lot of people aren't always expressing themselves.
Right.
Talking through things. And it seems like you're always talking through stuff.
Totally.
Already.
I have a close group of friends that aren't comedians, and I have a close group of friends that are comedians, and I have my wife, I have my brothers, I have my parents and all these other people in my life that I'm able to get new perspectives and just talk things out. If I think something's crazy, maybe they'll talk me off the ledge of that thing, or they'll agree with me and we'll double down on that kind of stuff. So being able to just have different perspectives on anything in life, I think is essential. Yeah. And being able to be honest with yourself on when you were wrong or when you were right and those types of things. It's so easy to be like, nah, fuck that guy's wrong. That's crazy. But comedy has really forced me to do that because if you go on stage and bomb every night and then you go, nah, fuck that crowd sucks. It's eventually you're gonna have to listen back to that audio and you're gonna have to realize that what you're doing isn't right and change that, tweak things and make it connect. Yeah,
it's so true. It's so true.
Do you think you'd be a good therapist?
Yeah, because I found myself falling into the trap of looking over my shoulder at people that were more successful than me and feeling envy or angry on their success and feeling like, why don't I get it? I deserve blah, blah, blah. It's a really easy trap to fall into, especially with social media. You see somebody post a clip, they're like, that's not funny, and it has 20 million views. You're like, but to me, I learned, and it's a muscle. You have to practice that over and over again because sometimes that knee-jerk reaction will still come up. Like, what the? No, it's good. Anybody's success is a really good thing. Whether I like them or not, whether I think they're funny or not, they found their path to that moment in their life, and how long they can make that last is a whole nother equation. But I think there's room for everybody more than ever. We're not all trying to get the 7 p.m. slot on Tuesday for our sitcom. There is infinite amount of hours of people's attention. Yeah,
because more people make more opportunity too. And I love what you're saying because there are a lot of people that think that like there's a pie and there's only a couple slices and you can only get that's the slice, and then if you don't get the slice, there's nothing left. And what you're saying is like, no, there's abundance for everyone.
Yeah, there's another pie.
And we can all be here.
Ovens on. We're baking pies all day. Yeah, this is a bakery. If you don't like pie, there's croissants, whatever you want.
Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. There are lots of bakeries actually.
Yes.
And I think that that's a really important perspective. I also feel like you also maybe didn't judge yourself for having the feelings towards the other people. Like you were just like, okay, so I'm a little jealous, but there is more pie. And then also that just means I want to work harder.
Yes,
or whatever.
totally.
You know what I mean? Like you can make.
Well, I use it as a learning opportunity
Yeah,
more
you
than
can
anything,
reframe
because I'm
it.
like, if this person can figure out how to do that thing
Yeah.
that I want to do,
Yep.
how did they do it? Not why did they get to do it? How did they actually do it? How did
Yeah.
they figure out how to get an online following or get into this club
Yeah.
or whatever it is?
Yeah.
And using that as a way to learn from that is way better than going, fuck that guy.
Yeah,
You know,
because a lot of
it's-
people get stuck in the judgment and the shame,
yeah,
and then
totally.
they just like, they just like go eat pie instead.
Yeah, and
actual
yeah,
pie.
exactly. And they feel when you can feel like an embarrassment of like if I post a clip and it gets 10 likes compared
Yeah.
to somebody who I think is less funny that gets millions more. At the
Right.
end of the day, it does not matter.
Doesn't
like
matter.
it's for me the mantra now
'Cause we're all
is
gonna
like
die.
exactly, but
Yeah.
and that's true. And time will
Yeah.
erase everything, and all of this will be dust one day. It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're supposed to enjoy the ride of this whole thing. So
Right.
if I'm enjoying the ride by being in the car with my middle fingers up, that's way less fun than looking around and seeing what's going on. I think. So.
Yeah, it really is.
So I think like, yeah, I just think it's easy to fall into that trap. And it, like I said, it's a muscle.
Yeah.
You have to really work at truly liking when people find success. I love it if I see somebody go and bust through that barrier and they're getting views and they get on a tour and they get to do all those things. Like that's a great thing for everybody. Because not only that, like people will be like, oh, that guy's terrible, he's doing this or that. It's like that person is bringing an audience to, if it's a stand-up comic, they're bringing more people to watch this thing you love to do. So that's always a good thing. Whether they watch you or somebody else, they at least are watching the sport you play now. And that's an opportunity for all of us, you know? Yeah.
It's really cool. I mean, that's another like I'm looking for flaws, guys. I'm really looking hard.
Well, they're in
What do
there.
you have wrong with you?
I don't know. I mean,
You gotta have some.
I guess, I mean, I don't know. I try to recognize those things that are bad. I mean, I clearly, well, here's the biggest, I'm clearly not the healthiest person. I'm an impulsive person for sure.
Okay.
I reach for things, and I try and reel those things in, and I let those impulses take over from time to time. And
By the way, the fact that you're being honest in this way, and I was honestly joking.
yeah, no,
is like
I think
really
that's.
fucking
It took me
cool.
a minute to like,
Yeah.
think of that. But
So
yeah.
in general, you feel like you've got. It sounds like you're analytical and you can really work through a lot of things, but you still know that you have some.
I
Part
still
of you.
seek an instant gratification
Got
on a lot
it.
of stuff. And I think
Got
that's
it.
why I
Got
like
it.
comedy more than other forms of entertainment, because
Yeah.
if for me spending months writing a script and putting it out and then trying to pitch it and sell and all that kind of other stuff you have to do, the instant gratification of write a joke, tell it, did it work, right now in the moment tonight is way more satisfying to me than anything. And that can bleed into other things of, hey, it's way easier to grab a donut than it is to cook a meal. But I've been trying to get better about that stuff. And a lot of that was having my daughter. It's like, again, like the future has a face. I want to be around for that. I want to be a healthy person in 20, 30, 40 years that I'm not, unable to keep up with them at a certain point, or I have these health problems. And again, seeing the stuff that happened with my mother-in-law, it's changed my perspective on those types of things. It's like,
How has it changed it? I'd like to know.
I think it's just, it makes you realize how fleeting all of this really is and how impermanent that your life is. Your life can go from these people are around to this world that you used to live in doesn't exist anymore. That chair is empty and it'll be empty. Like you have to really shift that perspective, and that empty chair could be you if you don't play your fucking cards right,
That's
or if
right.
you fuck around too much,
right.
or if you do whatever. So
That's right.
I think having the kid really ramped that up a notch of like, I want to make sure anytime I get in a fucking Uber, I worry about that now. I'm like, this guy's going to crash. I got to make sure that we're like good. And you need to like have control over that stuff to a point where I'm not losing my mind and having panic attacks in the back of every lift I get into.
It does start though when you have a kid. Like it does shift. Your nervous system does shift. That happened to me too, where I like got really nervous about things I never cared about before.
Yeah.
So you're right. You're
Totally.
working. You guys got to work through that. Though.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
normal.
no, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those things like, but it reflected on my health too. And like my wife during the pregnancy, she got the gestational diabetes, so she was on this really strict diet. So I was like, I'll just do it with you. And then that's carried into me continuing to do that and try and be healthier and just being more aware of what I'm eating and putting in my body. I don't need the couple of beers before or after the show. Now I'm going to be up with my daughter till 7 a.m. It's just going to make those things harder. Why would I want to do that?
It's gonna hurt so much more. Sort of like when we were in a band and we'd play till 3 a.m. and then I had to take her to ballet in the morning. And I'd lay there on the bench like this. All the other moms would be like, look at my daughter. And I'd be like, yes, at least I'm here.
Yes.
I'm kind of a mom.
I'm present.
I'm present.
I have a therapist question for you.
Me.
Yeah, I feel like it's important for someone like him to start helping people get to therapy.
Like a dealer?
I think. Can you be my dealer?
You need a little mental health? I know a guy.
Oh no, this is actually really good. Like someone's listening because they care about him,
And then
not
he's
me.
He's the catalyst.
And then he's going like, if you can't be me, because nobody can be Drew Dunn, you should go to therapy because Alicia or someone like Alicia could help you do what Drew does.
Well, I do agree with that. I think if you don't
Yeah.
have that community or a really strong relationship like I have with my wife where you can
Yes.
be vulnerable and talk about anything and everything in the world and
Yep.
not feel judged or like you're worried that your relationship's going to end if you have a different perspective or trying to air things out, yeah, you have to. And like you said, even just for the practice of that, if this whole idea of opening up is really new to you, then yeah, go have a safe space to really open up to somebody. That makes a lot of sense.
Learn how to
me.
do it.
Absolutely.
And truly also like going fundamentally, everyone needs a community. Like, and if you don't
Totally.
have a community,
Yeah.
go talk about it, get help and support to get a community.
Yeah.
If you aren't safe at home with whoever your chosen family is,
Yeah.
you know, or some of you are young, so unfortunately, you know, you need to find someone at school or whatever, but you need to find people to talk to and be vulnerable.
Well,
That's
and I think the really important
Yeah.
thing with young people too, and it's a perspective I didn't have. It's so hard to have when you're young. Is that like the world that you're in right now? Like I said before, it's not a permanent thing. This school you go to, the people that you're with, the relationships that you have are so temporary at that time of your life, from high school to college and stuff like that. That I mean, when you're in high school, you think that is the world, and that's just how it is, and it's gonna be like that, and that's
right.
the cool guy, and I'm the loser, or whatever it is.
Yep.
That when you leave that space and you go to that next level of life, that you have a completely different perspective. And college can sometimes be a minor reflection of those things, but when you really get out in the real world, it's totally different. The world really is your oyster, in that old saying. Like, you can do whatever you want. You can have relationships with whoever you want.
That's
You're not limited to the people that live in your zip code. You know, like, you're really able to meet anybody, especially now more than ever. We talk about the bad stuff of the overexposure of the internet. There's some good stuff too. You can find a community anywhere.
That's right.
If
That's right.
all you do is collect geodes all day, you might be the only person in your city that is really into that and you love that.
Yeah.
But guess what? There's a million people around
right.
the world that also
That's
do
right.
that you can connect with. So
That's right.
sometimes it's just about knowing what you love and trying a lot of different things. That's what I first did when I first quit my day job to do stand-up comedy full time. I tried a bunch of different stuff. I was doing acting classes and voiceover stuff and doing video game streaming and just a podcast, like anything that I could think of, just to try it out and see what I liked. And then I really realized that stand-up is the vessel that leads to all of those things anyway. And that was some advice I actually got indirectly from Kevin Hart. Actually, I was a background actor on Central Intelligence. It was one of the first movies he did with I'm in the intro.
I don't know what this movie is, but we'll have to see it.
It's a movie about, like, there was this guy that was bullied in high school and he became like a badass cop kind of guy, and then Kevin Hart is like an accountant and gets roped into this like mission, and it's a lot of twists and turns kind of thing. It was the first movie he did with The Rock at that time. I'm in that opening pep rally scene. I'm like in the background. You can see my face for like a
That's
second.
fantastic.
Yeah, but they keep you very separate from the stars in those things, because it's like
I've done
it's a
background,
horde. Yeah, it's a horde of people. You know how it is. So
Yeah.
it's like we're going up in sections of people. We need this shoot for this shot, and on continuity and all that kind of stuff. And I thought I was gonna meet Kevin before I get to the advice part.
Yeah.
I was like, they called our group up, and I was about to. They were like, "Oh, we don't need you guys," and I was about to like head back down with everybody, and it's like that hallway outside of a high school gym. It was a gym in Lynn, Massachusetts, is where it was shot.
No way.
Yeah. Lynn, City of Sin. And it's like that hallway outside of a gym, and I like turn around, and then I see him, and I see Kevin Hart like walk out into the hallway, getting ready to go into the gym, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go say hi to him and say like, I love your comedy, that kind of thing. So I'm like walking over towards him, I'm getting really nervous, and I'm like, palms are sweating. I'm like, wipe your hands off, you idiot. And I'm probably from here to you away from him. And I'm like, hey, and he turns his head, and it was his fucking stunt double.
Oh.
He was like, what's up? I'm like, nah, nothing. Your backflip was cool, man. Yeah.
So all your extra stuff was in Boston?
Yeah.
Did you do it through Boston Casting?
Yeah, Boston Casting.
Boston
Yeah.
Casting. Shout out. I did
Yeah.
that stuff too.
Yeah. I did a couple other classes and stuff, and then did some background things, and then realized that, especially for the goals I have in comedy, it was just really a big distraction from what I was trying to do. And that was the perspective that came from that. So, like I said, they keep you very separate. And then there was a part where Kevin came out, and they were kind of setting up cameras, and he was like just talking to everybody, what's going on. And some guy like ran up to him. It was just like, Kevin, I'm trying to make it. Like, give me a piece of advice. Like, please tell me what I can do. And he's like, first of all, don't touch me. Get away from me. You're too close. Security. And he's like, all right, I'm going to give you guys a piece of advice. Like, no matter what you want to do in this world, go get really great at one thing. If you go get really, really great and exceptional, undeniably good at one thing, all of these other opportunities will fall in your lap. And that advice like really struck through to me because at the time, like I said, I was doing the podcast, I was doing this YouTube channel, that YouTube channel, and auditions and classes, and my calendar was full and I felt busy, but I wasn't giving stand-up comedy 100% of my effort because I felt like I was good enough that I could show up to a show and do the 20 minutes, 30-minute sets that I was doing at the time and get the job done. But to really focus all of that extra energy on this one thing is what really helped to propel me to that next level, I think. Yeah.
That's great advice.
Yeah, 100%. It's something I tell comics now. It's like they're like, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? 'Cause especially you get such bad advice in entertainment business. Like, oh, you should do this. You should do that. And it's like, if you want to be whatever you want to be, that's what you have to focus on. If you want to be a great stand-up comic, then that's what you have to do. And like for me, I could go on TikTok and do these characters and try and get famous that way. But then to shift the public's perspective of, hey, I'm this guy that did that crazy kooky character. By the way, I do comedy. They're like, yeah. Put the glasses on and be the funny guy that we followed you for. But for me, it was like, if I want to be known as a great stand-up comic, then that's what I have to make. I have to make great stand-up comedy, and that's what I have to put out over and over and over again. And it takes longer than just going viral for a quick little thing, but it also, I think, lasts a little longer when you do it right. So what helps me with that, and again, the looking over the shoulder stuff of like, why is this person up there and I'm down here kind of thing, the metaphor I use for myself to stay steady is I picture everybody's like building a skyscraper. You're building this tower, and some people can build it really, really fast with popsicle sticks and rubber bands and glue. But if one little thing falls apart out of that, everything you built comes collapsing down around you. So for me, I'm like, I am just going to keep laying bricks. Go ahead, do your thing. Build your skyscrapers to the moon. That's awesome. I'm going to keep laying bricks. And I'm just going to keep building. And you're not going to be able to push my fucking tower down. You know, it's just going to keep building and insulating itself. And that's helped me mentally to get over that knee-jerk, like, fuck that guy reaction. Yeah.
Is there any drawbacks to the ambition that it takes to focus on the double-edged sword, right? That it's like, man, I'm going to be the best I can be at this one thing, but that also is so, can feel a little limiting too. Like
totally.
Right?
Well, and especially if it's not going well. Yeah, so if you're locked in on this and you feel like you're not getting the opportunities that you want or deserve, and that's your sole focus, it can be crushing. Yeah.
But that takes insight too. I mean, this is why it's like, you know, you just have really good insight. Some people might be locking in on stand-up, but they really are better at acting.
Totally.
You know,
totally.
And it's like you got to have that insight too. That you got to reflect on like what, you know, where you're fitting and what people are telling you.
Yeah. And if you're locked in the wrong thing, which I was for a lot of my life, I wanted to be a baseball player my whole life. That's what that was my first, like, I'm a happy guy when I'm pursuing a dream that's bigger than myself. This kind of impossible pursuit is where I find joy. And that was the first thing. And I played in college, and then even when I was in high school, I would bullpen catch for the Toronto Blue Jays AA team. So I would go up and change in the locker and
crazy.
But
it's catching those pitches.
Yeah, but that was fun. I loved catching. I was never a good enough hitter to play at that next level, but I would show up to practice an hour and a half early and hit balls off the tee and go in on my days off and lift and do all this stuff that I had to do and really try and do more than my teammates were because I knew my goals were more than what they had. When you put 100% into something and you don't land where you want, it is crushing. It's crushing. Truly like, I mean, that was one of the hardest things to do was like hurting my arm in college and having to go into my coach's office and say, I don't think I'm going to redshirt. I don't want to pay for another year of college. I can see the writing on the wall that this, despite all the good stuff that happened back here, where it really matters isn't launching me to that next level. So I have to be able to swallow that and move on to the next thing. And then within a couple weeks, I started doing stand-up comedy.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Wow. That's definitely
because a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't go, okay, shit, that didn't work. And they keep banging their head against the wall. You're right. Yeah. And again, this is why I'm still trying to find flaws over here. This is really fucking good. It's going really well. His parents are good.
Yeah, and that is funny because, like I said, with my parents, it's like all our brothers had a different perspective. Oh, they did this, they were shitty for that, whatever. It's like, you guys are all doing great.
Yeah.
So whatever crazy chaos potion that was made up for us to do this, like something worked out right.
Something worked out right. And yeah, what Jake says, I hope that there are guys out there that wouldn't normally go to therapy maybe, but because they're hearing how mentally healthy you are, and obviously you haven't gone to therapy, but a lot of the things that you talked about, you can work on in therapy. Or, you know, you can work on and just start to be more vulnerable in your life, or you can read books about it, or you can really...
I just think an additional perspective for everybody is important. Regardless of how you get it, having somebody else in a place to really express yourself honestly is essential.
Is so essential. Yeah. Besides that, what are you doing with your life? I know you just got back out there, so what's your routine right now?
Yeah, I'm on the road pretty much like every other weekend or so right now. I'm doing a lighter touring schedule than I've done in the past, just to balance it with the family and stuff like that. So pretty much on weekends I'm out on the road in a different city, and then I'm in New York during the week and doing spots.
Are you just like
night.
dadding?
So I do. My schedule right now is I'm up with her until about 6 or 7. We're working on sleep schedules and stuff like that, but it's tricky. She'll sleep in her crib sometimes for a few hours, sometimes for 1 second. Yeah. But if I hold her, she'll sleep all night kind of thing. So we'll kind of play that back and forth game with her. So and for me, I'd rather be awake for that than like waking up groggy at 4 a.m. to deal with her. I'm like, I'll just make my schedule that I'm up till 6 or 7, and then I sleep until noon or 2, whatever I end up staying up to, and then wake up, try and do some of the back end stuff, the sending emails, the editing videos, and all that kind of stuff that you have to do in this business. And then usually I'm doing spots, a few spots a night in New York between the Comedy Cellar and a few other spots that I'll do spots anywhere from 7 to sometimes midnight or so, depending on the schedule. Sometimes it's just a couple, sometimes it's a lot more. And then leave the show, go take her from mom. Mom goes to sleep, and then I party with the baby all night.
Wow.
And try and get some more stuff done here and there,
really beautiful.
and watch some Disney movies that I haven't watched in a while. And
that's sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's sweet. Working on your
Tarzan holds up, dude. I'm telling you.
So cute. Okay, cool. And so that's it. And where can we see you?
I post videos pretty much every week. So at Drew Dunn Comedy on all social media, drewduncomedy.com for tour tickets and dates and stuff like that. I'm going pretty much everywhere this year. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing with us and being vulnerable with us today. It was awesome.
No, it was fun. It was great talking with you.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to us today. We know that you could have spent this time with a true crime podcast, but you care about mental health too, and that's balance. And we appreciate you. Go ahead and subscribe, please, and give us 5 stars. And if you didn't like it, like most of my family, just lie. Remember, this wasn't medical advice, but an irreverent conversation about mental health. New episodes drop every Tuesday on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, and everywhere else that we could manage to upload it. And hey, if you liked today's comedian, look them up and follow them. They are brave and they're talented. And if you have friends, good for you. That's a good sign. Now please go tell them about us.